I got the old theme song going on, but I'm ready to play some new ones. I'm ready to make some new ones. Yeah, it's Thursday. I'm Sean Shapiro. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, that show on the internet that allows you to ask a traffic cop questions, because I'm a traffic cop, in case you were wondering. It's a great day to be at traffic services. Every day is a great day to be at traffic services. And if you're not watching us live, you're probably watching us on one of the channels we broadcast to. But if you didn't already know this, we're available on podcast or as a podcast, because after the show, I download it and I upload it to Spotify Anchor, which then rebroadcasts it to Apple Podcast, iHeart Podcast, all the podcast places. If there's more places that we're not, well, let us know and I'll add them, because we have the ability to do that. Hope you're having a great day. Yeah. What's shaking? What's going on? What is happening in your life? These are things that very often people don't have an opportunity to talk about. So I'm ready. Break it down. What's going on? You got some questions for me? That's what we're all about. This is a show for you, so that you get to ask us questions and we get to answer them. What do we have here? Right off the bat, I see ASKa's first in the room. Let's see what's going on. And by the way, if you didn't already know, we are broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and of course, X. I always want to say Twitter, but it's X. And we'll be broadcasting there a lot, because there's a lot of people who are watching us there now. Our audience is growing on Twitter. Thank you very much to those who watch us on Twitter. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about us. That's what that whole endorsement thing is. When you share a live stream, you're endorsing it. You're saying it's worthy of someone else's attention. And that means a lot to us. I appreciate it. Let's see. I don't see... Oh, Nihaz, good. First one in the chat, but I don't see the chat reproducing over on here. So hopefully everything works well. And comes over from TikTok, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And yes, the video format is new in terms of the slight change. But can we see if I can reset it? Occasionally, if not, it's been pretty good this week. But occasionally we have technical issues. I don't like technical issues. I like it when it all works and nothing goes wrong. Let's see here. Oh, I haven't got chat. Let's see here. See if I can reset it. Another note, since I'm not paying attention to what's going on screen for a second while I try and reset the relay, I will not be here in studio tomorrow. I will be working, but I will be off-site working on a special project, which means no show tomorrow. I will attempt to put a podcast up in place of the show, but no guarantees that I'll be able to finish editing it in time. So that's a thing. One more try, and it's like CPR paddles when I try and hit this relay mode on and off, because apparently that is what fixes it, but we'll see what happens. I think I spelled everything correctly. Can I double check that? When self-doubt rears its head, its ugly head. Yes, traffic services is spelled correctly, and it says it's broadcasting, so it might... Oh, there it is. Alex, you fixed it. It was you were the first question that popped up from TikTok. All right, let's get into some hellos. Let's get into some Vision Zero enforcement team stuff, and then we'll get back to your questions. So I had mentioned earlier that ASKa was the first one in the room, and there it is. Greetings and salutations. I've got a dad joke that I will happily. It is the 14th. Look at that. He says Happy Pi Day. And if you're in the know, you know. And if you don't know, well, then you got to look it up. Google is your friend. Thanks for bringing that up. We've got a Yogi Berra quote. If you've got dad jokes, please send them. When I see them, I will flag them for later on in the show. We try and wrap the show with dad jokes. We got Paul who says, good morning, all. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Paul. It's good to see you again. Good morning from Sean Chen. We've got Tian who says, good morning, everyone. I like that it's an inclusive good morning, not just about me, but everybody in the chat. We're a community here. Victoria says morning. Actually said good morning. Jordan Leduc says good morning, Sean. And, interesting. So although ASKa showed up first, Michael posted last night to the show, because you can actually post in the chat in advance of the show going live. And sometimes I can see that and sometimes I can't. And Tim was here this morning. Cool. Okay, we got a question here from Victoria, and flag that for a second. Alex was the first one from TikTok. I think that was the first. No, there was a couple comments before. So, thoughts on the U.S. TikTok ban? That's from Tobias. And you know what? I think it's really sad. I think it's sad. I think that TikTok is the best platform on the planet. I'm having a lot of fun with it. We've seen tremendous success and growth on the platform. We're 655,000 followers. People who want to get information from us, we should be here to give it to them. And I know that Canada currently isn't, having an issue that I'm aware of, other than the big scare of what was it, technology and secrecy and privacy. But many technology experts have said, and I believe them, that every piece of technology and free software on your phone is tracking you, and they're selling it. And a number of news shows have gone in and said that they know that all the information is coming. The only difference is that Chinese government may or may not have access to it. And in fact, I think I forgot where I was watching it. Somebody said that an advertising agency was able to buy the information as though they were the Chinese government. Anyway, if you're putting up your stuff for free on the internet, if the product is free, you're using software that's free, I got news for you. You, in fact, are the product. They're selling the information that they're gathering from you to sell you stuff. That's just a reality. Okay, moving on. I went down the rabbit hole. Sorry. We got some questions flagged. Oh, excellent. We got, is it Swaggett? I don't know how to pronounce your name. That was my best guess. Hello, officer. I love your videos. It's been helping me a lot to understand your traffic rules. Well, I'm glad. That's the whole goal. That's exactly why we're doing what we do, is we want to make access to the information that we know is important so that you can safely operate a motor vehicle lawfully. Well, it's not always easy. And while I said earlier, if you don't know what Pi Day is, go Google it. It's not so easy when it comes to information about the Highway Traffic Act. Why? Because there's different provinces with different rules, and that's not always clear as to what they're talking about when you Google, laws about red lights. Well, you could be reading about a different province, a different area. You could be reading a law firm's interpretations of it, or just an individual discussion. Who's right? Who's wrong? Well, we like to be the trusted source. We're trying to provide good information to make life easy and bring it to you in a way that's easy to digest. Yes, we want to be light on the digestion. We don't want to mess you up. That would be bad. Vision Zero enforcement team. I should probably talk about that now that we're here. Let me flag this one. I think it's somebody trying to sell me something. What is this? Yes, it's someone trying to sell me something. No, we don't need more followers. We're not buying subscriptions. But thank you. Oh, and it looks like, did TikTok break again? Let me see. No, we're still good for, no, it's broken. I'm going to reset it again. Basharat Ali says, good morning and have a good day, Sir Sean. Basharat Ali is our friend from Punjab, Pakistan. He is a traffic officer over by there, which is a long way away, but we appreciate the internationalness that you bring to our show. You truly demonstrate the fact that we are getting our information out far and wide. Okay. Billy Wang has a question about being 15 and something or other. We're going to come back to that. And cool. U-turns, we've got a question about that. Ted has a question. Oh, okay. Ted Howell has a question about leaving keys by the door. It's a car theft question. All right, things have rebooted on the TikTok front. Quickly, I will discuss something very important that I do every single show, and that is to discuss the Vision Zero enforcement team. They are a group of officers who go out every day to try and change driver behavior one ticket at a time. Well, sometimes 10 tickets. Depends on how lucky the driver is and how many violations they were witnessed performing. It is something that is entirely driver-driven. Yeah, it's driver-driven. If you choose to break the law, you are eligible for tickets. If you are caught breaking those laws, expect the tickets. In fact, you're kind of asking for it. Yeah, it's not a money-making thing, it's a safety thing. We are trying to change driver behavior because we know that certain behaviors lead to serious injury and death on our roads. It's simple. If you're going to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, drive impaired, we know that those lead to serious injury and death. And while minor collisions might happen, there's nothing by accident. It's all driver error. So if you drive properly, you reduce the chances of those collisions. You increase the chances that people will live. And certainly you being involved in those things. whether it be a victim of someone else's driving or you causing the collision, driver behavior is at the root of it. So do the things you can do. Drive defensively and drive lawfully. Today, the magical folks at Vision Zero Enforcement Team are, well, they're spending time in a particular division, and they have a particular division assigned to them every day based on intelligence. And today, being the 14th, we are looking at 11 Division and 42 Division. We're looking at the Junction, Weston, High Park, Roncy, Malvern, Agincourt, Milliken, Rouge, Scarborough. Those are neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play. Now, I've listed some of them. I don't have enough characters on Twitter to put all of them. And if we didn't represent your hashtag, well, you can send me a message and I'll try and include you next time. But at the end of the day, they're going to be in those general areas covered by those divisions, not necessarily represented by the ones I read, but the entire area. And that does not mean we're not enforcing laws in other areas. We have police officers across the city who are also engaged in enforcement duties, not solely like the Vision Zero Enforcement Team, but in addition to their regular duties. They will catch you and they will ticket you. And that's how it works. So don't get tickets by not breaking the law. Okay, I have spoken about this too long. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. So let's talk about stuff I have not spoken about yet. And that is the questions in the queue. Are you able to let us know in advance on your guests, such as Aaron? This is a show question as opposed to a traffic question. I love this question. Usually I know the night before. Being that policing is very, well, dynamic, I'm the only person that I know will be here. Everybody else is a potential, but not a guarantee. And if I do know in advance, I will certainly try and let you know as soon as I know. I can be better at scheduling. But the problem is I often will schedule and then I will have them not show up because they've been called away or something's happened, and their schedule, again, is very dynamic. But I will take that note and try and do better, because I'm always trying to make this better. I really appreciate the input, Victoria. Okay. Alex Landry says, that 80 zone, the driver is going the speed limit. They are impeding traffic. Or are they impeding traffic? If they're 80 in an 80 zone, they are not impeding traffic. They are impeding clowns who want to speed, who are breaking the law and making the roads unsafe for everybody else, but they are not impeding traffic. You cannot impede traffic when traffic is breaking the law. That being said, they could be slower traffic that should be moving over to the right, because the clown that is speeding is going to get aggressive and do some boneheaded move to pass them. And when they do that, they're making the roads unsafe. Now, let me be clear. The bonehead who is passing the legal driver is making the roads unsafe, not the person who's lawfully doing the speed limit. I really, there was an article recently posted in the what's called Auto Trader, and it said that the viral TikTok cop talks about his feelings on left lane campers. Yeah, my thing is the speeder is wrong, the lawful driver is right, but the lawful driver should still move to the right because they know that the clown is coming. Okay, off my soapbox. I am. Let's see here. Okay, Billy Wang had a question. The question is, if I'm 15 and I'm in the United States and I take the U.S. permit test and come to Canada, can I still drive with my U.S. permit? I'm 15. No, not in Ontario. Now, every province has different rules as to when you are eligible to drive. In Ontario, it's 16. So it doesn't matter if you have a full license at 15, you are not eligible to drive in the province of Ontario. We will not allow it. Learner's permits are really intended for the jurisdiction they are issued. Ontario learner's permit is really only intended for Ontario. Whether they accept it in another province is going to be up to that province. I called Michigan to find out if Michigan would honor a learner from Ontario, and they didn't know. Well, the truth is they probably won't, and their court system would not acknowledge it. But I didn't speak to the Supreme Court there. I spoke to people in the police service there, and they had never thought about it. At least not the people that I'd spoken to. So I am fairly confident, based on the fact that even if you were to move with a G1 to another province, you would not be eligible to use it there. Like you'd have to apply for a brand new equivalent of a G1. It wouldn't just transfer. And now we're really getting off topic of your original question, because the answer to your original question is no. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, there's so much to go through. I quite like these questions. Okay. Radek wants to know and says, good morning. And your question is, are U-turns prohibited in intersections where left turns are prohibited? What is the first part of a U-turn? It's a left turn. So if a left turn is prohibited and the U-turn is or you can't even begin the turn on a left turn, regardless of, because the first part of a U-turn is a left turn. So yeah, they're prohibited. I would issue you a ticket because it's sort of like I meant to make a left turn, then change my mind and U-turned. Whether your intention was to do something or not, that would be a ticket from me. Let's see here. Okay. Ted Howell, this is the question that I was looking forward to. I actually clipped this video. My buddy was caught on camera at a meeting. I shouldn't say caught on camera because I've said it on the radio too. I've repeated the same information. Ted wants to know if there's any truth to the TikTok to leave your keys by your front door to make it safer. Well, I know people who have had guns pressed into their face to have their keys taken because they weren't easily accessible by the criminal. And this is really a question of safety, your safety versus your stuff. In my opinion, and the opinion of the Toronto Police, is your safety is important. Let them take your car. Your car can be replaced. You, on the other hand, don't need broken teeth, injuries and or worse. So if they're coming to get your car, let them have it. And don't, same thing if it was a carjacking. If someone came up to you and pointed a gun at you, we would tell you to give them the car and not fight, because it could go sideways and you would lose. You may or may not have your car at the end of the interaction, but you'd definitely be, or you may be in a less good situation. We don't want you to get hurt. At the end of the day, that's the only thing that's really important. Everything else can be replaced. My mom said it. My dad says it. I say it to my kids. Yeah. It's a sad situation, but that's the truth. Okay. Okay, we already talked about Billy Wang, and we're going back to more stuff and things. Where we have to keep our car keys when thieves break in. So I used to Faraday bag and hide them inside, and now we're saying don't make it so hard to find. So front of the house is probably, not as bad as we once thought it was. I can't believe I'm saying these things, but the reality is safety first. Okay. Well, a whole bunch of things just uploaded and are now in front of me. Okay. Brandon says, hello all. Have an amazing day. To you too. Julie says, good morning. Good morning, Julie. And Dark Shark, can you turn left on a red light if it's one-way street onto another one-way street? Aha. So like a right turn on a red, if you come to a complete stop and it's not prohibited by a sign, you make a right turn on red, if it's safe to do so, right? Same thing applies in Ontario when dealing with left turns on red lights. If you are on a one-way turning onto another one-way and it's not prohibited, and of course, if you've come to a complete stop and it's safe to proceed. So it's the one situation. Tequila says hi, or it says Sean hi with a heart. And Stephen Bell, and by the way, Tequila, hello back. And Stephen Bell says, good morning, I just got up. Well, look, that must be nice. I'd like to be able to sleep until now. Maybe even on a vacation, I don't get to sleep in this late. But good for you. And hopefully it's not because you're under the weather, because that's probably the only time I would sleep in. Okay. OPP in Sarnia was on a power trip, according to one. I don't know what to tell you. Someone's going to court. How do laws work in parking lots? Depends on what laws. This is a question from Leah on TikTok. And this is too wide a question to answer completely. We could be here all day. But basically, Highway Traffic Act, for the most part, isn't enforceable on private property, save and except for things like stunt driving, which is totally enforceable. And on some private property lots, like those that are managed by TTC or Metrolinx, they have an act that allows them to have enforcement on their property. But the average place doesn't have the ability to have enforcement, nor does the police enforce on their property. And that's the deal. What other laws are we talking about? Criminal laws are all applicable, like impaired driving, and of course the entirety of the Criminal Code of Canada is applicable anywhere. So, Leah, if you've got a specific question, let me know what we didn't cover and what you still want covered. Okay. Davo Papi wants to know why you can't put the front plate displaying behind the windshield. Well, it's based on regulations. Regulations state that you have to put them in the front of the vehicle in a conspicuous place. Oddly enough, the windshield is not the front of the vehicle. It's front facing, but it's not the front. So you can't put it there. Now, it's also something I like to refer to as the Ontario Shuriken. Shuriken is the throwing star. It's a sharp metal object that in the event of a collision could become something that hurts you. So bad idea all around, but before it even gets to be a dangerous item in the vehicle, it is not being displayed as per regulation, and you would get a ticket for failing to display it, $110. Okay. Sarah got a ticket for parking on a residential street with no parking for snow plows, but there is no snow. I am not a parking guru, but Erin Urquhart is. And unfortunately, she's not here right now. But that's a great question for her. If you're on TikTok, actually you are on TikTok, check out TPS_bike Send her a message. I'm sure she'd be able to answer you. I imagine those, even though there's no snow on the ground, those signs are in effect between certain months. Now, I may not write you that ticket, but if it's an enforceable ticket and they're enforcing the rules, then maybe it could snow. I don't know. Let's see here. Jacob says, if I'm speeding but you don't catch me, is it illegal? Yes, Jacob. Yes, it is. Anyway. What do we got here? Dark Shark says, bro, this guy's ignoring my question. No, Dark Shark, I'm not. We were having some connectivity issues, and also I don't respond instantly because I'm talking about other people's stuff, and then I move slowly down the list. So if you're in the list, you will get answers eventually. At least if you're in the first half of the show. We do run out of time eventually, and then a whole bunch of people don't get their questions answered, and I say, come back next time. And in this case, Monday will be next time because there's no show tomorrow. By the way, if you're new to this whole thing, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff in general. Talk about employment, talk about donuts and chicken wings. We talk about, yesterday I tried I didn't try it. My kids tried it and told me about it. And we're talking about a Feastables Mr. Beast chocolate bar. Now, I would have gone for the peanut butter one, but they aren't into that. I am. And since I'm not eating it, I figured they should eat something they like. So they took the milk chocolate, and they said it was great, but I think that $9 was way too much. And I posted it on my Instagram and Facebook, and friends came back and said, that is way too much because they're available for like half the price, $4.50, $5 at places in Toronto, which I'd never seen before. So the Sugar Shack charged $9, which apparently is robbery, but I didn't arrest them. Anyway, Brandon asks the question, what if TPS cruisers had automated speeding cameras on them? Do you think that would be a good idea? So we used to have photo radar in the back of vehicles. It's before me being a member of the service, but I think photo radar and automated enforcement in any way, shape, or form is good. I like it. Most people don't agree with me. And I say most people who aren't in the police service, who don't want people to, or aren't connected to the traffic safety from in law enforcement or a law side of it. Yeah. I want people to slow down. Anything that makes them slow down, I think, is good. I'm even okay with governing vehicles so they cannot speed. I think that'd be pretty cool. I know many, many people would disagree, but there's no reason to speed. We talk about what 20 kilometers an hour over the speed limit does. Well, in the scenario, and I've talked about this earlier this week, doing a consistent 20 over in a 100 zone means you save 12 minutes. 12 minutes. But you're not actually doing a sustained hour of or 100 kilometers at 20 over. You're probably doing 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, a minute there. You're up and down all over the place. So why are we doing it? Leave 12 minutes earlier. You're guaranteed to get there and save 12 minutes if you leave 12 minutes earlier and do the speed limit. And you also increase your odds of not becoming involved in a collision. Anyway, Dylan wants to know if stop signs in private parking lots legally have to be followed. So not in the average one, although it's a really good idea, and you're still responsible for the collision if you cause one. But no, there's no ticket in a regular lot. If it's a TTC lot or a Metrolinx lot, you might be getting a ticket because there are acts that are specific to their property. But the average, no. Now, there is something where stunt driving is applicable, as well as dangerous driving. So if you're doing bonehead stuff in the parking lot, you could find yourself getting in trouble. But no, rolling a stop sign on private property generally has no negative to it in terms of you can't get a ticket. You don't even need a license on private property, other than the ones where it's enforceable by an act. Okay. Spend wants to know what the best tip on passing a G2 road test is. Well, I would say get good sleep. Make sure you've eaten and bathroomed and all the stuff so you have no stress. Get good sleep is possibly the best one. You either know it or you don't at this point. You have been driving, hopefully, consistently for the year or more since you got your G1, and you know your stuff. Now you just need to manage your nerves and whatever else is going on. But if you're going to do your test, you either know it or you don't. I hate to break it to you. So if you really want some help, go out with book a professional driving instructor and ask them to critique you. Maybe that will give you the confidence you need to get through it. Because if you go out for an hour with them or more, yeah, it'll cost you a couple of bucks, but they're going to give you an honest review. At least I think they will. Thoughts on the horrible incident yesterday? I don't have much to share on any of these events because I don't go to these scenes. I don't have any firsthand information. Even if I've read basics from the collision, I don't have enough to comment on it truly, other than loss of life is always horrible. And even if the loss of life doesn't impact the wide community, there's somebody, even if a good person, bad person, you like them, you didn't like them, somebody's suffering because of that collision, whether the people were fatally injured or not. These collisions cause communities to suffer. And not to mention all the people who, through cascading consequences, don't get to work, or it affects people. So there you go. What is this? I'm out in Texas in the Dallas area. How heavy are the police in general on mini bikes cruising empty roads? So I couldn't tell you how Texas treats this stuff because I'm not in Texas. I'm in Toronto, Canada. But here, if we saw mini bikes on the road, we would charge you because it's not legal. Those are private property only things. But Texas law might be different. I don't know. So unfortunately, I can't help you. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Brent wants to know what the rules are when it comes to tailgating. So it's called following too close. And I'll read you what the ticket statement says, because I can do that. Highway Traffic Act. Follow too closely. $110. The driver of a motor vehicle or streetcar shall not follow another vehicle or streetcar more closely than is reasonable and prudent, having due regard for the speed of the vehicle and the traffic on and the conditions of the highway. Highway being any road. Essentially, you need a reasonable stopping distance, and being too close, not cool. So $110. Now, are we able to stop everyone who tailgates? No. We simply don't witness all of those events. My suggestion is stay to the right and let the clown pass you. Clown's become my most recent title for those who break the rules. I've had others, but I think clown is the safest. What is this? Davo Papi has issues with some law. I forgot what you asked about earlier, but I'm sorry that you don't like the law. It's still the law. Yeah. I don't know which law you're talking about. Okay. Who's at fault for a vehicle? Sorry, who's at fault if a transport truck hits a car that merges from the blind spot? So how is a truck responsible for a collision they had no part in other than physically being there? The person who changed and appeared in the blind spot of the truck did so in an unsafe manner. You can't cut off big trucks, and that's where big trucks need cameras because you need to defend yourself. But yeah, there's a lot of people who do stupid things when it comes to big vehicles. The Traffic Injury Research Foundation, turf.ca, check it out. They've got a great infographic. Well, why don't I just bring it up and put it on the screen, because I can do that. We have the technology. Turf. Let's just, no, I don't want the president's message. I want turf.ca. I do a lot of work with Turf. They're amazing people with amazing sources of information. If I click on Insights, do I have it there? I want the infographic. Hold on a second. Road safety. Oh, I love them, but I'm not a big fan of the, here we go, of their website. Because I go through the same routine every time I want to look for stuff. Oh, then it's going to make me download it, which means I have like 7 copies of this file by now. Yeah, I click it, and then here, I'll just put it on screen. It's letting me put it on screen. All right. This button is the next button. That's a nice button. Okay, here we go. So, information. Come on. Vehicle size matters. Sharing the road with large trucks. This is great stuff, and you should come onto and visit this site because you should see this stuff. Okay, did you know? Yeah, so you can really get an idea for the size of or the space that is completely unavailable to the driver. 20 feet in front of it, 2 lanes beside. This is a big deal. Stay out of these zones because you will not be seen. And then when things happen, everyone wants to point a finger at the truck driver, but you done it if you spent the time to go in these areas. And the people who are cutting off and staying in the blind spots on turns, I see some wild stuff when it comes to interacting with large trucks. Great information again, turf.ca. Check them out. What is this? I don't know if we're talking. I think that Davo is really upset about license plates, suggesting that you can Velcro it on the dash. If we're still really talking about your license plate, you need to just mount it on the front of the vehicle and stop complaining. You're just going to get a ticket. My suggestion about the whole shuriken safety thing for the license plate is your safety. That's not why it's illegal. It's illegal because it's not put on the front bumper. I'm just giving you a good reason in addition to the law. Anyway, moving on, Davo. Okay. Boom, boom. There's a whole discussion here. And I said I was moving on, but I think this is funny. But Quebec doesn't. Quebec doesn't make you put a front license plate on because they don't issue one because they don't have a problem with having one license plate on the vehicle. When Premier Ford came into the office, he was looking at making it a one-plate province, and he consulted those learned people called the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, and a very valid point was raised in that if you have 2 license plates, you have twice as many opportunities to identify vehicles. We have something called Amber Alerts. We look for missing children. We look for, in addition to Amber Alerts, we're looking for stolen vehicles. We're looking to identify vehicles that we need to identify. 2 plates make it easier than 1, and he thought that was pretty good advice, so he stayed with it. Costs more money to have 2 plates than 1, but it's still worthy. Hey, if you're watching and you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer, and I work at Traffic Services, so I'm a traffic cop. I answer your traffic and police questions online most weekdays from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Sometimes I do it later. Sometimes we have some afternoon evening shows, and that's kind of cool. I want to do more of those going forward to try and be here for those who aren't available right now. But you know what else? If you're not available at this time, and this is a difficult time for you, you can certainly get us on a podcast format. If you are looking for us, AATC, or just go to ASKaTrafficCop.TrafficCop.ca or AATC.TrafficCop.ca. I think I've created all sorts of different links to go through, but just going to TrafficCop.ca will give you the opportunity to download our podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, and a whole bunch of other ones. It is cool to listen without burning your data. I'm really into saving your data. And not breaking the law, because if you're watching me on YouTube or TikTok while you're driving, that's a $615 ticket. But if you're listening to us audio only while you drive, you save your data and the potential of a ticket. No ticket for you. Unless you want one, but no one who wants one. Okay. Question is, do I have to remain at the scene of an accident if no one else is involved? Let's say you ran into a tree. Yeah, tree is government property. You got to report that, and police have to come and investigate. Oddly enough, when you run into a tree, there's a really good reason to investigate. Very often, it's people who are impaired by drugs or alcohol that cause that collision. But regardless, you can't just take off. You have to report it to police. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Are you at fault if a bike speeds through a crosswalk? Are they supposed to be off the bike? So I got to unpack this. If you are crossing an intersection and someone enters the crosswalk against the light, and you had no way of avoiding it, would you be at fault? No, they're breaking the law. They're entering the intersection unlawfully, and they're doing so in a crosswalk. If, let's see here. If you are, my daughter just FaceTimed me and doesn't realize I'm live on the internet right now. Oh, she says. So, yeah. Sorry, that's just too funny. I don't think she was expecting me to actually answer, but I could almost predict that she wants me to authorize the purchase of something on her iPad. So she's making a face at me. All right, moving on. Yeah, the cyclists need to cross legally, and to do that on a crosswalk, they have to be actually on foot. You can't ride through. If you're talking about, where they lawfully permitted to cross at all because they were crossing it against the light, that's a different situation. So I need to know more exactly to be able to answer it properly. But you depends on the situation. Let's see here. Jeff Anderson says, such BS. I don't know what we're referring to, but you don't have to like what I say. It just happens to be correct. All right. What is this? I don't know what Kara's saying they'd like us to take something. It's been a money pit. I don't know what we're talking about. Okay. Davo Poppy is still incredibly bored and wants to talk about license plates. Okay. We talked about passing the road already. What to do in a road rage situation? I think that's a really good question. So if you are in a road rage situation, the first thing, if someone's being aggressive towards you, I think the first thing to do is move to the right and give them the opportunity to forget all about you and move on. I would, of course, want to know their license plate, and I'd still call police. But let's say it was truly being aggressive, and you've tried to turn off and go somewhere else to change your direction of travel, not go down a one-way street, but go down another main road. And this person is now following you. Well, I would drive to the closest police station, and that should do it. And of course, call the police on the way so that we can have a welcoming party for the person who's aggressively driving towards you. But it depends on things can escalate from there, and it might be an emergency situation where we come and meet you to find the person who's being aggressive. But more often than not, moving to the right, maybe even slowing down a little bit, allows the person who's having a bad day and doesn't really want to escalate things, but is having difficulty with their emotions, they have big feelings, well, they'll just likely take off. But if there's something that very specific that you want to talk about, let me know, because road rage, it can look very different. There's so many different ways. Let's see here. Oh, MGP wants to know if it's true that only white speed signs are regulators and the other yellow ones are advisory. Yeah, white signs with the black trim, your average speed sign is regulated. And if it's a yellow one, it is a cautionary sign. So that's usually something you see when you are on an off-ramp. Well, the speed of the road is the speed of the road, and that yellow sign is what engineers determined is the appropriate speed for you to travel to not leave the road. And it's for ideal road conditions. So if you're traveling and ignoring that and you end up going off the road, when we do that wonderful investigation, we determine how fast you were going based on skid marks and such. We're probably going to suggest that you were not following that direction, and your insurance company gets that information. Yeah. On the news, the collection in Toronto yesterday. Not sure what we're talking about. That's from Stephen Bell. Okay. Lots of people asking about signs now. Is it illegal to eat and drive? Depends. It depends whether or not you are eating with both hands and your knees are at the steering wheel. That would be careless driving without question. But if you take a French fry and sip your drink while you're driving, that's not illegal. It depends if it's stopping you from driving safely. Now, in some provinces, because we're in Ontario and that's lawful here, in some provinces, taking a sip of water is not legal. I think it's BC that considers that distracted driving. So it depends where you are. I think Germany is another place that you're not like the Autobahn that everyone says, yeah, you can go fast. Great. You can't touch your glass of water, so don't be thirsty while you're driving. there's different rules for different places, but generally speaking here, if it can be done safely, it's legal. Carl says, thank you for your service. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate it. I'm just happy that I get to give back and be part of this internet thing and answer your questions. What's this? What we got? Gateau wants to know why you guys aren't addressing the rampant car theft issue in Canada. We address it all the time. How would you like us to solve it for you? Because we can't hang out on your driveway and protect your car. You need to do things to prevent your vehicle from looking like a good candidate for theft. Things that like deterrence, like the club and parking in a good, visible area with lighting and preferably video cameras. And you can do all those things to make it less convenient to steal. But at the end of the day, we know that if they really want it, they're going to get it. So, like we were talking about earlier, we don't suggest anymore doing the hiding of your stuff, because the really committed criminal is going to enter your home and take it. They can't find it. They may come find you to help them find it. And that's where violence kicks in, and we don't want that. We want you to be safe. We are actively pursuing investigations after the fact to recover vehicles, to close down the organizations that are committing these offenses. But that's two separate things. One's preventing crime, and then there's the other side of trying to hold people accountable for committing those crimes. Heavy duty stuff. All right. Let's see here. Definitely the morning. Oh, the Grinch says, morning all, love the plates, can't read the third one. Do we know what they are? Does anyone know what they are? I can do a little zoom. Let me see here. If I get out of the way. Does it make it better? My wall of patches is growing, and my license plates are, well, they're fake. But A-Team, Knight Rider, and the bottom one, only the very special, super intelligent people know what movie that's from. It's from Back to the Future 2, I believe. All right. Oh, here's an interesting question. I have a valid Ontario license, but my license in Quebec is suspended. Can I drive in Quebec? Well, if you have a license that is suspended in Quebec, your Ontario license is also suspended. You can't drive on a license. You can only have one license at a time. So if your Quebec license is suspended, you shouldn't have an Ontario license. If your Ontario license is suspended in Quebec, your license is suspended here. It's a problem. You have a suspended license. We would consider you suspended. Phone is a big problem than speeding. Both are a big problem. Speeding means that you have less reaction time because you're traveling faster. You cover more speed, so you have less time to react. And the average person is 1 to 2 seconds of response time before you even start applying the brakes. That means you've traveled quite a distance, and you're already involved in the collision when you may have had time to respond. Also, your braking distance is not linear. Braking, actually, the distance required to stop increases, and it's not a linear thing. You go 1 kilometer over, doesn't mean it's 1 foot more. No, it goes up quite. I had a great calculator for this. Let me see if I can pull that up, because this blows people away. Stopping distance calculator. Have fun with this on the weekend. No, I don't want to use precise location. Why does everyone want to know where I am? Okay, vehicle speed of 100. Now let's change this to kilometers per hour. Here we go. So we're going to say 100 kilometers. We're going to say a reaction time of, well, let's go with 1 second. We'll say that everyone's really good. So 100 kilometers an hour, it estimates a stopping distance of 84 meters. 84 meters. If I change that to 120 kilometers, your stopping distance is now 114.35 meters. And if I go to 130 kilometers, 130, it's 131 meters. 135 kilometers, 140 meters. It's growing faster. The distance is longer than that of the speed. And if I do 150, it's 168 meters. I keep saying kilometers. 150 kilometers an hour. It's 168 meters, according to this. If it's a 1 second, let's say you're a little slower on the uptake, 150 kilometers an hour at 2 seconds reaction time means it's 209 meters. It's speeding is a factor in collisions. It just is. Phones are a huge problem because at the reactionary time, you could be completely into your email and never see the impact. You'd never even start braking, potentially. All things bad. What is this? So many people asking about stop signs on private property. Private property stop signs are not enforceable unless you're TTC or Metrolinx areas. Okay. You don't even need a license on most private property. If I enter here's a Hot Dog Man says, if I enter an intersection and the light is yellow but turns red before I leave the intersection, is that a ticket? Could be. If you entered on a yellow and you could have stopped, there's a ticket for that. Because yellow means stop. Doesn't mean go faster. Doesn't mean you still have time. It means slow down unless it's unsafe to do so. And if you've determined it's unsafe to do so, the police officer making the observations would have to agree with you, or they would give you a ticket. And the ticket, although cheaper than a red light camera, it's cheaper than a red light camera, cheaper than a red light ticket, is still a ticket that impacts your insurance and your wallet. But if you were to enter reasonably on a green or a yellow and it turned red whilst you were in it, it wouldn't be a ticket for the light, but it could be a ticket for blocking the box if you couldn't exit. So it depends. It all depends. I think this is a good opportunity to talk about the employment unit. Have you ever considered becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service or any police service? If you are interested in a wonderful career, then I would suggest looking up our website. You can get to us by going to www.tps.ca/careers, where you see these smiling faces looking back at you, and you can get all the information you ever wanted to know and more about becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service. Things you should know about applying, what the requirements are, things you should know before you take this job or even start the process. There's tons of information. In fact, you probably want to know how much we get paid because it's right there. You probably also want to know some basic history of the police service, because when you get to the next stages, there's going to be an assumption that you've done your homework. And if you haven't, it doesn't look very good. Now, there's other positions available. We have special constable roles, parking enforcement roles, communications operators, and then we have magical civilians. Now, if you want to work for a great government agency that is not only a fun place to work, a good place to work, a place where what you do means something, it's not just about showing up and hanging out. It's about helping the community, There are other jobs that have nothing to do with uniform. And I mean that they do the background to support uniform, but they're not wearing a uniform. They're not engaged on activity on the street. They're not high-risk jobs, at least not all of them. Law clerk in legal services. Are you a law clerk? Would you like to work for us? A nurse, a temporary 1-year contract working in our wellness advisory unit. A clerk at court services, leave and absence coordinator, crime analyst, communications operator, and developer in the digital team. These are all positions that are currently available for you to apply for, even if you have no intention of becoming a police officer. There's a theme here. I'm saying you don't have to be a police officer to work here. All right. I talked about it. I like talking about it. I want to help bring good people to the service because it's a good place to work. Moving back to the chat. Greg Marshall says good morning, and this was at 26 minutes after 10, so you're still definitely in there, but it gives you an idea of how far away it was that you asked that or that you said that. All right. Matt says good morning. Oh. So Matt wants to know what section of the HTA the front windshield tint falls under. I know operate unsafe motor vehicle section, but where tint on the windshield falls into it. There's two sections. One is obscuring driver's view. There's also obscuring the interior of a motor vehicle. So that's going to be two plate taking portions of it, because you're going to get charged $110 for obscuring your view, $110 for obscuring our view into the vehicle, and then you're considered unsafe based on the light truck and passenger vehicle inspection guide, which then goes to the concept that your vehicle is not safe for the road, which is where you get your additional charge and you lose your license plates, which then requires you to go get certified again. So yeah, it's all those things. Where was I before? Is M. Carroll also a cop? No, Emma is not a cop, although she is a person who has been here since nearly the beginning of the channel and has heard me repeat all of these things ad nauseum. So when she is saying that she knows what the rules are, I believe her. She does. Okay, we talked about this. I don't know, it's okay. Moving down. Nick S. said if. I don't see where the rest of the message is. All right. Catching up. Okay, now I found some. See, when things update, they scroll all over the place, and then I don't know where they are. Scott says, good morning. Good morning, Scott. Rye works in the auto insurance industry and says the first question is always, no matter how little, is are you okay? And I'm assuming you're talking about in a collision situation. Or is it when you meet anyone? You just want to make sure that just a mental health check. Are you okay? I can appreciate that. But that is the first thing I would want to know if I was involved in a collision. Also, a tip for those who are involved in collisions now, there's been a trend of people who create them. They're fraudulent. They're intentional collisions so that someone gets out, you come out to look at the damage, and then some third party who was waiting for you, well, they jump in and drive your car away. So it's a car theft tactic. So what I would suggest doing before getting out of your vehicle to check out the minor fender bender is first call the police. And when the person comes up to find out if you're okay and starts telling you, oh my goodness, all this damage, I'm so sorry, get a read for them. Look around. See if anyone else is there. And let them know that you've already contacted police and you're going to wait for them. At least wait for direction. Maybe you're going to just give it a few seconds to cool off and look at your surroundings, because it may just be a trap. Okay. Is it everyone's insurance rises in the area with car theft? So insurance companies will actually go and evaluate statistics. They look at numbers and they evaluate your risk. If you live in a high theft area, then yes, your insurance will likely go up. I bet you because my neighbor's car got stolen, that's probably why my insurance went up. Thanks. Darren wants to know if I can drive in different provinces with an Ontario license, even though I'm suspended in that province. If you're suspended in any province with an Ontario license, you're suspended at Ontario and your license is not licensed anymore. It's suspended. You can't drive with a suspended license. Rye says, fault determination rules are great to look at too. Absolutely. Hey there. Okay. I slide over, make room.
All right. Tell you, I walked by somebody's office and I heard your voice.
Oh, yeah?
So officers here are actually listening to you and your live.
Our stuff and things.
And it reminded me, hey, I got 2 seconds.
It's that time. You can come in for the end of the show.
Yeah. Sorry, having a busy day.
That has happened in policing.
Yes, they do.
They're unplanned. Someone earlier in the show said, could you let us know in advance when you're going to have a guest? And I said, I can try, but it doesn't always work because policing is very dynamic and someone who plans to be here doesn't always attend.
Am I a guest? Or?
Well, you're like the co-host. You're like the...
Am I just kind of like part of the show now?
I think so. Once it was the sprinkle of goodness has been so regular now that you're just part of the show. Let's see here. Why have I never seen a truck pulled over for speeding, driving on the left speed lane? This is, I'm assuming, commercial motor vehicles. You just haven't been lucky because we have a group of people who focus their efforts entirely on commercial vehicles.
So, yeah, if you're talking specifically commercial motor vehicles, they would be pulled over and they'd be directed off the highway. Mm-hmm. And not only would they be charged for their speeding or driving in the left lane, but they'd probably go through a complete mechanical inspection, which may result in further charges or them being pulled completely off the road. So we don't want to do that out in the middle of the highway.
It's kind of dangerous.
It is kind of dangerous.
Kind of affects the ability to drive.
And you know what? People slow down when they see flashing lights ahead, which is great, but it does slow down the flow of traffic as well, and we want to keep that moving.
Now, he has a follow-up question of people driving with their phones are a huge problem and nothing is being done. I would disagree, my friend. That was a charge originally that started at $125, something lesser than careless driving. It has now surpassed careless driving, both in dollar amount and in consequence. It is now, instead of, well, actually, the points are not as high. So careless driving is always something that would apply. That's 6 demerit points, and is it $495? I think it's $495.
Yes.
But so the 125 became 150, 175. Then now it's $615, 3 demerit points, 3-day suspension, and that's on your first conviction. It's 7 days in the second time around. I anticipate, this is my prediction, I've been saying it for a while, I am waiting for the day where they start impounding vehicles for
using the
using
handheld
their
communication.
Yeah, I think that's just a matter of time because people have an addiction. They cannot seem to put it down. And I have issued thousands of those tickets. I've no doubt that thousands is accurate.
And stats prove that is a major contributor to people getting in collisions, getting hurt, and dying.
It's more prevalent than impaired driving.
It is.
So it is being done, but it is an issue that everyone seems to think is just okay. You know, in the 70s, drinking and driving, being impaired behind the wheel was an acceptable thing. For some,
Although it was still against the law back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now it is so prevalent. You know what? Young drivers right now, I think, are better educated on the consequences of drinking and driving. And I see an awful lot of them, well, I've witnessed an awful lot of them not even risk it, not even a little bit. And you know what? We should have a look at our youth and take a page out of their book because they're doing it right.
I have some advice for you. If you're a passenger, shame the driver who touches their phone. Give them a hard time, or choose not to be a passenger in a vehicle with someone who chooses to use their cell phone. It is simply not okay, but you need to advocate for your own safety. So if you're a passenger, say something, or don't take advantage of that opportunity to be in the vehicle. It's as simple as that. Until we make mention, it's not okay to sit in the passenger seat and be uncomfortable. Make it known, and maybe they'll change their tune. Also,
End of rant, I promise.
well, I got lots to say about it. Also, if you're a parent, know that you're teaching your children bad habits. They are looking to you as an example, and if your phone is in your hand, you're telling them that it's okay. So you might be responsible for getting them hurt or killed later in their life.
And I saw another question in there that you didn't bring up, but
Which one?
It is a handheld communication device. It's any handheld communication device. Doesn't have to be a phone.
Now, there are some exemptions, and if you look at the HTA, there are exemptions for certain people, like police, fire, ambulance can operate their handheld communication devices. And when they're exempt for all of them, not just the walkie-talkie. There are some exemptions for commercial trucks when it comes to these. Somehow they slipped it in. I didn't notice it, but there were some changes which were originally a temporary measure became a permanent thing. So, yeah, there's certain people who can use certain devices. Please mention how to signal in a roundabout. Oh, this is an interesting one. You're the roundabout king. We talk about roundabouts because I actually have limited exposure to roundabouts. In the places that I go on a regular basis, I don't see them. Yet you've had examples or experience with multi-lane roundabouts.
Yes. So not in this country, unfortunately, because I think roundabouts are a fantastic thing. I've had experience where there's a roundabout that connects to another roundabout that connects to another roundabout, and some of them actually are separated by traffic lights. Very confusing if you don't understand the whole big picture of what a roundabout is.
The simplest thing, though, about signaling is that you don't signal in, but you do signal out.
That's correct. We know which way you're supposed to go. You're supposed to pull in, and when it's safe to do so, you're supposed to yield to the traffic and then pull into the intersection. We don't have very many multi-lane roundabouts here, but anybody on the inside has the right of way. If you're on the outside, you're expected, unless it's signed or other markings on the road exempting it, you're expected to be pulling out at the next intersection. If it is a single lane roundabout, then you can continue around that roundabout as often as you want till you find the road that you want to go out on, signal and exit there.
I watch people, and it's like they're playing chicken. They have no idea what to do in the roundabout. I see people in the roundabout stopping for people who want to get in. I see the darndest things. I also see people who just jump into the roundabout and forget or don't know that you have to yield to those inside.
And the clue is a big triangle that's it's on a piece
sign?
of wood. It's a sign that says you are obligated to yield. Anybody within the intersection or in the roundabout has the right of way. Anybody closest, if it's a multi-lane one, anybody closest to the inside of the roundabout has the right of way. You have to let them out.
Now, you mentioned going around and around and around and
I've
around.
done that before.
Now, John has a spin on it, and it's not specific to roundabouts, but how many attempts in parallel parking, holding up traffic, can you try before getting the attention of police? Which I think is just about the same as going around and around and around. At some point, you might get investigated for something.
You know what? You got to use common sense here. You occupy the lane and you are attempting to parallel park. And if you can't do it in your first attempt, maybe give it one more try. If you can't do it on your second attempt, maybe that's not the place for you to park.
I have a big truck, and I was trying to park said big truck in a spot that I thought maybe I could squeeze into. I tried twice. It didn't work. I'm like, I'm finding a bigger spot.
Right.
If it takes more effort than is reasonable, that is not the spot for you.
And you could be charged for interfering with traffic should you decide to spend the entire day practicing your driving parking skills and interfering with everybody else who needs to be somewhere.
Yes. John says, you give great, useful info. Thanks. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That's our whole reason for being. If you're watching and you don't already follow, and John, I assume you do, but if someone else is following the show but hasn't actually followed the channel, please like, subscribe, share, endorse us to your friends and family, because we want to give good information to as many people as possible.
You know what? You better know it now before learning it at the side of the road with a police officer talking to you.
I agree.
Cheaper that way.
Tickets are there just to help you remember. We got Antigua who says, good morning to you. And can you answer calls on Bluetooth? So if you've got, this is a question about cell phones. You can't pick up your phone to press answer, Bluetooth or not. You can press a button on your headset to answer, or on the phone to answer, or of course, if it's integrated with your steering wheel or vehicle, then you can answer the phone that way.
Right.
But it has to be mounted if you're touching the phone. You can't pick it up and hit the button.
So the safest way is modern cars. It's integrated with your
CarPlay, Android Car.
Yeah, or even just through the Bluetooth that goes to
True.
the older systems.
I can't believe we're saying older system Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Coming from when I was driving and there were no such thing as cell phones. So anyway,
We're old.
Well, my buddy had a mobile phone in his parents' car. Now, a mobile phone, you'd think that's a cell phone, but it's not. It was a phone that looked like a home phone.
Yep.
With one button. You'd pick it up, you'd notify the operator, you'd say, hi, this is ABC 123. Yeah, I'd like to call this number, and they would patch you through, and everybody could hear you. It was like a ham radio. Everybody on the phone could listen in on your phone call.
Wow.
And it was silly expensive. Yeah, but they had one. Is it legal to have mirror tint on your rear windows? Now, the ones that we generally talk about being regulated are the ones left and right of the driver and the windshield. The ones behind could be opaque, could be mirrored, could be anything.
Can be anything you want, as long as you have a
Clear
mirror,
view to the rear.
A side mirror or a rear view mirror that actually gives you a clear view to the rear. So if you want to put a mirror on your back window, I'm sure it's going to upset people traveling behind you if
Yes.
it's sunny.
But Chrome does that too.
Yeah, Chrome does that too. That's why I don't like Chrome.
You don't like any Chrome?
None. None at all.
I'm not one of the people who adds a lot of Chrome, but I don't mind Chrome. I hate cleaning Chrome.
I actually have a motorcycle that is covered in Chrome.
I know you must hate it.
You know what? It does, but actually my bike looks pretty good for Chrome. But
All things considered, but you could spend all the money. You could probably sell all your Chrome to somebody who likes Chrome and take all their not Chrome
yeah,
stuff. Do you know Officer Rick Harrington? I do not. I'm told that I sound like Rick Harrison on a regular basis, but that's the guy from Pawn Stars, not.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't mind, I got a friend who knows all about this stuff. Yeah. The people, when I first started this channel, people were always asking, say this line from Pawn Stars. Yeah. Can you go 80 right after an 80 ahead sign? No, because it's ahead. So you have to go after the 80 begins sign.
I don't know of an awful lot of 80 ahead. Now, there's an awful lot of lower speeds coming up ahead to give you warning that as soon as you hit that sign, say it's going from an 80 zone to a 60 zone, you have to be doing 60 right at the point that sign is there. I don't know an awful lot of ones, especially in Ontario, that says, get ready.
I'm not
speed up,
familiar with
get
them.
ready to go faster.
Because there's no obligation to be meeting that speed once you cross the sign, but it is in the opposite direction. But
It is.
If you know of an area that you can show this example, I'd love to see it. But either way, it's when it says begins, that's when the speed limit is in effect. And if you were doing 80 prior to that, you would be speeding. I don't know what Greg is talking about. Can a cop drive double the speed limit without its sirens on? Well, actually, technically, yeah. Because there's no obligation to use lights and sirens in order to exceed the posted speed limit. That said, we have to have a good reason to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Double the speed limit is extreme. You probably won't find us doing that very often. But I got to tell you, and I've said this before, when you turn your lights and your sirens on, people do some pretty silly things.
You're being kind when you say
It's
silly.
almost safer. Well, it is safer.
It is safer.
To travel without your lights and sirens going. The only obligation we have to have our lights and sirens going is when we're going through a red light. And we have to come to a complete stop before we proceed into the intersection. If we're going to something like a bank robbery or a hostage taking or something that's going on that we do not want to alert bad guys that we're coming, because bad guys usually run away, drive away when we come, it may be completely a planned event. If we're just going somewhere really, really fast because we're responding to a call, it may be safer to do it without lights and sirens, just for our own safety and the safety of other people that are out there.
Here's a question. What's the best type of car to buy? Affordable, safe, reliable, or luxury?
Is it a question, affordable, safe, reliable, or luxury? Or is all those, you want the brand of car?
No, I think just looking for, of those categories, which one is the best? It's
I would say all three. All four. If you can put all four into one, that's pretty good.
But I'll tell you what my favorite kind of car is. It's a paid-off one. It's the one that doesn't cost you anything, that you're not paying to finance it, despite the fact that some people might have purchased new cars.
Yeah, I did. I signed on the dotted line the other day. So my vehicle was getting pretty old, so I bit the bullet, and I'm going to be paying monthly, actually bi-weekly, for a little while now.
I'd love to buy new wheels. I cannot bring myself to spend money monthly to have new wheels while mine's still running. And my vehicle's starting to have some issues. I've had to pay for stuff recently. I had the 2 windshield wipers. It became 1 windshield wiper, and I had to go get it fixed. And they're little minor things, but I like the fact that I don't pay monthly anymore. It's mine. Yeah, it's the thing. But I'm also someone who likes new toys, and we'll have to go for a drive in your new toy when you get it.
I've only ever had one brand new vehicle in my life.
Yeah?
Ever.
Oh.
Just because I'm Scottish and I can fix anything. So
yeah,
you know what? I have an advantage there. So
I think that everyone should have like when I was in school, automotive was a thing. Is that still taught in school?
I don't know. Maybe in the vocational institutes, but
that's important stuff.
It is. We all drive. The world drives.
And if you rely on someone else to tell you what's wrong, you're going to be paying through the nose.
A little bit of knowledge can save you an awful lot.
Carl wants to know how come he doesn't hear about defensive driving anymore. We talk about defensive driving all the time. Maybe we don't say defensive driving, but really we're talking about following the rules and being aware of your surroundings. And yeah, maybe we'd have to talk about that a lot more. Because now that you say it, I don't use those words very often.
Actually, I was having a discussion yesterday with my son. He's currently taking truck driver training, and he had a passenger in there who was insistent that he uses horn all the time. And warn about potential hazards, and we had a discussion when it would be appropriate and when not to be appropriate. Driving a big transport truck that takes a little bit of time to stop, when the use of the horn would be appropriate. Defensive driving, use of the horn is part of defensive driving.
For sure.
Warning others that you're coming through, you have the right of way, that they're not paying attention. There's not an awful lot you can do defensively in a big truck because you are the offensive vehicle that's on the road.
So maybe we should just have the horn just constantly going with some of the drivers I see on the road.
These are the discussions that I have at home about driving. So you know how fun my house is.
Yeah, yeah. It was like when I was talking to Deputy Chief Larry Coco from Toronto Fire. He was talking about that he's the not fun dad who talks about you can't charge your laptop on a soft surface because you're going to set a fire. You might cause the battery to go into overload or thermal runaway. Cell phones can't charge them near the. Like, he enforces all the rules. He puts the fire what's it called, fire sensors, fire smoke detectors in every room. He does everything right because he knows what it causes. So we're traffic cops. We talk about all the traffic stuff at nauseum. So we're either the most fun or the least fun people at parties.
My neighbor, every time he comes in the door and I have anything sitting on top of the stove,
Yeah.
he will actually move it out of the way.
Is he a fireman?
He is a retired firefighter.
Oh, that's good to know.
I have a flat top stove, and if I have anything sitting there, picks it up, moves it out of the way.
Linda Kosovac says, another hero, thank you as well. And because she always says, good morning, my hero, thank you for all you do. Because she's a big fan of police and the work we do in making people safe or making the roads safer.
Thanks, Linda.
And she has a question. What happens when a car gets in a crash and leaves the scene? This is a fail to remain collision situation, a hit and run. Well,
you're obligated in two separate ways, both criminally and under the Highway Traffic Act, to remain, render assistance, and exchange information, and remain for the police if it meets a certain criteria. So we have, at Traffic Services, we have a whole detective office that deals directly with that. Fail to remain collisions happen. It causes injury or death. It also causes people get really, really upset if you were to collide into somebody and leave the scene because it affects your insurance. A fail to remain collision requires you to pay your deductible, and it's a hit on your insurance. If somebody else hits you, then it is the other driver's insurance. Although that's no fault, it can be sorted out that way, and you don't have to actually pay your deductible.
Which is good.
Yes. There are times that our hit and run detectives cannot identify the driver. And that means if we can't identify who is driving, we can't lay the charges. We can't lay the criminal charge, or we can't lay the Highway Traffic Act charge. We do have an option to lay it against the owner of a vehicle and require the owner of the vehicle to provide insurance information, which we can then turn over to the other involved parties because they're obligated to receive it. And that can save you in your insurance predicament, stopping your insurance from going up. So we do everything we can. If we have enough information to lay the charge, we'll lay it. If we don't have the information, we try to do everything to make it easier for you going through this process. You got to remember that you are the victim of somebody else hitting you and running away.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
We're real serious about that. It's
You weren't even paying attention, were you?
not at all. So something that's happened here is that the TikTok link broke and messages were not being updated. I managed to fix it, but we have missed a whole bunch of questions that I may or may not have time to go back to. There are a couple that I want to quickly highlight. Chase, by the way, says he's really happy that Buddy is back right behind us. We have the question, that's a joke. So he says, happy that he's back where he belongs. Now, what's the best way to become a police officer? That is a good question. Police officer school, this police foundations. I'm going to go speak at a police course or at a police foundations course today. But do you need it? It could be a great thing for you. And if you have no interest in any other program, there's nothing wrong with it. But if you have interests, if you would excel at accounting, my favorite example, well, maybe that accounting diploma or degree would really help you in the financial crime investigation business, which we have a section. And
Make you a better candidate than
Yeah.
the person that is also applying.
Everyone having the same skills and abilities makes you less interesting. If you are the champion knitting scholar, I don't know what do people get that would be. There's so many different ways to go, but everybody has a different skill and ability to bring to the table, and uniqueness is good.
You talk about education, but what's the best way to become a police officer? Just be a good person. Start early and be a good person. Have a good ethic. Have good morals, and that will help you through life. It really will, and it'll certainly help you get on this job, because anything that is seen to be against good ethics and morals and values may hinder you. Well,
Yeah,
definitely will hinder you.
and good driving. People don't understand how bad a poor driving record looks, especially if you have current issues. Like we're going to give you a badge and say, go and enforce these rules. And then we look at you and you don't actually respect the rules yourself. That's a real problem. That's a hint, a clue.
Yep. That's a gateway into the type of person you are. The way you drive may lead into your personality, your personal restraint, all those things.
Gruwall says you're on a pause. No, I don't know what happened there. But the question was, are there limits to the age limits to becoming a police officer? It used to be 18 to 65 is what the applicable, you could apply between 18 and 65. I know that we can't be forced to retire anymore. And when I see it as a minimum 18, it doesn't say 65 anymore. So I've never seen anybody 65 join, but there were people 50 who joined when I was
50 plus
who've joined while I was in my class. I was in my 30s and they were in their 50s, and they were very proud to be there, and I was very amazed that it was still happening, because in the States, if you're over 40, some of them don't look at you,
right? Because
they want to invest in you and keep you as long as possible. But I know people in their 50s have been in. So how old are you? Why do you want to know? I'm curious now. But if you're interested, talk to a recruiter. Absolutely, they'll let you know exactly what's up. How should I behave as a tourist during a traffic check? I don't know how to answer that other than behave. I don't know what the answer is.
What would you do in your
home country?
What rules are they? Obviously, be respectful. Listen to the questions. Answer the questions. Maybe you've done something you're not aware of, and you know what? A smooth interaction is usually a safe interaction. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Other than all the ums I said.
I wouldn't make big moves. I would listen for direction, ask questions. We're here to help. Assuming there's nothing criminal or dangerous happening, it's pretty easy peasy to deal with the police here.
When you get pulled over, don't jump out of your car. And
don't run.
Back.
Running bad.
Yeah.
I stay in your car. Yeah, absolutely. The Grinch says my youngest daughter is looking into a police officer. She's looking into a police officer
inside,
or just maybe
into becoming a police officer.
I'm going to assume it's becoming. And that's what I told her. Be a good person. Have good morals, and be great at what you do, and be very community-oriented. Yeah, volunteer.
Absolutely.
Be committed to the community you want to protect. Absolutely. These are all good things. And the Grinch follows up to say, go watch the show Rookie. Be that guy and be awesome. Don't let age hold you back. So he was 40 when he became a police officer, and I transitioned to police officer from court officer at 38. So I really, that show really resonates with me because I was not the oldest guy, but I was an older guy.
See, I was young. I was really young when I joined and haven't left.
It's a good thing.
You know what? Life experience, though, even in my younger years, life experience would have made me a better police officer had I had more of it before I joined.
Well, that's the thing. People coming from other careers do bring that vast knowledge with them and experience. Doesn't lights and sirens let people know someone is driving dangerously? So this is the concept of, do we turn our lights and sirens on when we're speeding?
To protect others that somebody else is driving dangerously, or?
Well, the scenario is, I'm assuming you're referring to when we go above the speed limit. So no, we're not driving dangerously per se. We're being very, very specifically as safe as possible, but we are exceeding the speed limit. Dangerous would suggest a lot more is going on. Now, speeding is dangerous. It increases your risk. However, lights and sirens speeding really increases your risks because people do wild and crazy things in front of the police. And I mean that by stopping in the middle of the street because they think we want to stop them, but we're trying to get to help somebody. So we weigh the and we are responsible for the decisions we make.
I can tell you I was not very happy with the person who came to a complete and utter stop in the center of Highway 401 as it went across traffic, and traffic was flowing pretty good. This person just had no clue what to do, and her best idea was to just slam on the brakes and skid to a stop.
I've seen them do it in front of fire trucks. It's wild.
Yeah.
Can you legally drive a new car to a safety with plates off another car you own? Now, Haley, the way that is read suggests you've taken it off of the plate you own and you're putting it on a new plate, a new vehicle, which would not be legal. If you had plates that were not associated, they were valid but not attached to another vehicle on paper, then you could use them for up to 6 days to get that if the vehicle was safe for the road.
So an example of this is maybe when you're going into a car dealership, you're trading in a car and you're getting the new car. You do have 6 days to transfer that plate over because it's no longer in your name. There's a bill of sale. It's off the road, to put your plates on the new vehicle and have either yourself or have the dealership switch it over. It has to be the same class of vehicle. The vehicle you're putting on it has to have a fit status before the plates originally on that car were removed. There's a bunch of qualifications that you have to undergo and make sure that you comply with before you can do that. Have a read of the Highway Traffic Act. There's a bunch of things in there, and it's kind of confusing. So don't just grab the plates off your other car and slap them on and go for a drive, because that may not qualify you for that exemption of used plates not authorized.
I've given up on transferring plates. I get the dealership to put on new plates whenever I buy a new car. Just start fresh. No dents, no dings, no peeling, no nothing, and it just comes with.
Nope, like my originals.
Yeah,
I'm old school.
mind you, I do have some originals that are sitting. I keep them, and I'm thinking of transferring them later. I have some that are like 80s plates that will never fade. Never the original paint. They look like they're brand new, even though they're 30 years old.
I have a plate from my father, who's since passed away, but it was a ministry issue plate, and it's quite an interesting set of characters that are on there.
Okay.
So I'll tell you about it later.
Yes. Michael says, my bonehead driving tendencies when I was young have hindered me being hired by police. Drive safe. Good advice. If it's dated, if it's old stuff, you might be able to get past it. It's if it's current. Usually you have to have less than 6 demerit points on your license, and it depends on how bonehead we're talking about. If it was really, really bad, yeah. But if you're still interested in that, talk to a recruiter. I would never say, to cancel you out.
Never say never.
Never say never. Can you be a police officer if you have a record for a DUI 10 years ago but have had a pardon? Well, if you have been pardoned and your record is clean, you may be eligible to apply. Again, question I would take up to the recruiting department.
Yeah, I do believe it's a criminal offense record that a pardon has not been granted.
I agree.
Would restrict you from applying.
Can you ride a Suron LXB in the city? Would it be more legal if there was a pedal kit on it? Well, first off, if there's no pedals, it's not an e-bike. It's not legal. But I will, having looked at Suron in the past, and I don't know the LXB, but let's see, Suron LXB. I will tell you all the reasons. Oh, Light BX. LXB is Light BX?
LXB? LBX?
LXB.
Close enough. Yep.
Oh, no, here's LXB. Wow, that looks like
that's
quite.
LBX.
That's LBX too?
Yeah.
I could swear it. Anyway.
So that 100%
Not legal.
not legal is a motor vehicle. You need a safety, you need insurance, you need plates, you need a motorcycle license. 100% you're getting stopped and
Charged with everything.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, these are bikes that can go 80 kilometers an hour. Pedals don't matter. I mean, it will not make it more legal because they have more than, I think it's 12 gigawatts, something like that, 12,000 watts. What are these specifications? Okay, let's go back to bikes. Sold out. Apparently people like these.
Yep. Ride them off road.
Yeah, that's what they're intended for.
Yeah. I like them. I want to give it a try.
Oh, I've tried some of these bikes. So let's see here. Length, weight, distribution. I want to know about parts, engines, or motors, electrical parts. Come on. Anyway, this is not the. I got the.
This is not the
UK.
time for you to be.
Well, I also got the UK one, but these things are ridiculously fast. And I've stopped people
You
on
should
the road here.
have brought that over and just shown what you were looking at.
Okay, let me try
Okay.
Suron Canada then.
So yes, for an electric motorcycle, which everything is, an e-bike is, it has to have certain criteria that allows the exemption of licensing, insurance, and plating. We have electric motorcycles on the road right now. They make an electric Harley Davidson. It needs license, insurance, proper lighting, plates, safety, all those things. This is definitely not qualified to be operated on the roads.
6 kilowatts of electric power, when 500 watts maximum output is legal. 75 kilometers of cruising range is great, but top speed of 75 kilometers an hour. The top speed to be legal would have to be no more than 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. Let's see here.
But being a dirt bike rider, looks pretty cool.
This is 6,000 watts of peak power. This is more power output even than a cargo e-bike, which is 1,000. Yeah, I mean, this looks amazing, but totally not legal. And there's a lot of people who are selling these types or bikes that are modified. This one's a good manufacturer. I think it's a quality product from what I've seen. But there are people who are buying cheap kits from China and modifying them. You know, flip a switch, put a little connector, and it goes from 32 kilometers, and suddenly it's 80 kilometers. And we're seeing these on the road. We're even seeing people who are taking gas-powered scooters and throwing e-bike license plates on them to fake it.
Right.
Yeah. Not legal. And just to give you an idea of what you'd be eligible for in terms of charges, $5,000 to $25,000 in fines just for the driving without insurance, because it is a motor vehicle. Up to 6 months in jail just on that charge. And then there's everything else for everything. Like
Lights, horns, safety, tires, helmet, driver's license, everything. It would cost you thousands upon thousands upon thousands. If you're going to do it properly. There's an exemption there for you. It may not be as fun.
Yeah.
Save that one for off-road. Actually, save that one for off-road, and I'll come riding with you.
There you go. Gruel says your traffic show is awesome, and then says he's got to go. Boom, boom, boom. Jumping an e-bike, underglow legal. What do we got here?
If TPS was, say, in Peterborough or Lindsay, and you see them run a red light,
Can you? So we're police officers anywhere in the province of Ontario. You don't have the authority to stop a police officer. But if they are not doing it right, you could certainly report them. We have to stop for a red light. We have to turn our lights and sirens on to go through.
I'm saying if we, I'm reading it as if we were actually
there
in
patrolling.
Peterborough or Lindsay,
Can you pull over? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
anytime, whether working or not, anywhere in the province, 24/7.
Yes.
But I don't want to do it on my days off.
Well, but if we're in a police car doing police work,
If we're in a police car doing police work, absolutely.
okay, we got some dad jokes. I don't know if Chase was telling it was being straight up with us. Honda Indy was renamed. I don't know if I have to look.
New
into that.
sponsor?
I don't know. I checked the website when I saw it. It doesn't look like it was renamed. He might be pulling our legs. Policeman retirement moved that you experience people at their worst difficult job.
You know what? It is and it isn't. Sometimes when you get the opportunity to actually help somebody and they come back and thank you for it, makes it all better.
Yeah, and while we see some people at their worst, sometimes we see them at their best.
Yep.
We get to see people doing amazing things to help others. It's quite heartwarming.
And it's usually the quiet majority that appreciates us out there. It's the small but very vocal people that don't like us. And you know what? That's okay. We got big shoulders. Don't have to like us.
It's true. We mostly don't have feelings anyway. We're traffic people.
Well, that is the rumor.
Linda wants to know if you can use the turning lane in the center of a road to also merge into the flow of traffic. If you're talking about when you're making a left turn into traffic and there's space to enter that lane and then you get up to speed and move in, I certainly have done it. I've used it not to drive 5 kilometers in that lane too quickly.
Technically, if you look at the letter of the law of what the common center turning lane is for, you cannot use it.
I do it.
Technically, you cannot use it. If you are doing that, then the obligation's on you.
Yeah.
If you were to get involved in a collision,
You'd be responsible.
You would 100% be responsible for it. No, you have to pull out into the appropriate lane. Center common turning lane is exactly that. It's a common turning lane used by both directions for the purposes of not impeding the flow of traffic to make a left turn.
Makes sense. What law would you change and why? Well, I'd make it that you can merge in the center turn. So what is there a law that you would change?
Yeah.
That one. Failed to drive in marked lane.
It used to be a charge for you not driving in the painted marked lane.
Mm-hmm.
And they got rid of it. And I don't know why.
Somebody had an idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. It could have been that something happened within the court process and it was found to be unconstitutional or unlawful. And I don't know. Those are the biggest clues as to bad drivers or impaired drivers or inexperienced drivers.
But that's the one I would bring back. It just off the top of my head. Yogi Berra quote, "It's not the heat, it's the humidity."
Humility.
See, I'm not reading.
I know.
I'm scanning and speaking. It's the humility. It's not the heat. It's the humility. I wonder. Maybe it was a typo. Maybe he meant
No,
humidity.
you're supposed to think it's humidity, but it's the humility.
Well, there you go. I thought it was, but it wasn't. Okay, it's Kayla's dad joke. Wait. What do you call a fake stone in Ireland? A shamrock.
I like it.
And of course, Michael's joke. Hi, Michael. By the way, I didn't see you until now. A man fell down a well. I guess he could not see well.
I like it too.
I like that one too. All right.
Nicely done.
I was going to do something with Suno, but I ran out of time. So we'll do the Suno stuff next week. That's the AI song stuff. I was playing around with it, trying to get some dubstep traffic songs. But we'll leave you with the most magical of songs, the traffic song written and performed by a police officer right here in Traffic Services. So we'll see you next week.
Goodbye, everyone.
Light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I was going to say something like, yibbity, 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 that's all, folks. But I didn't want to do that and play into a stereotype. Have a great day, everybody.